Welcome back, everybody. It's Rugby TV. Remember, of course, you can follow us on Facebook, www.facebook.com/Cape Rugby TV. And there you can see our competitions. Of course, we also share with you some of the results, the logs, and the fixtures. And, of course, that's where you can enter your Score Energy Drinks competition. Right, folks, Helderberg was up against St. George's last week, and we'll show you the highlights one more time. Helderberg St. George's first half. Of course, things going in favour there of Helderberg against St. George's. Big derby match. But let's take a look now at the second half one more time. Right, then, of course, final result going in favour of Helderberg. It does keep Helderberg at the top of the log. They are tied with UCT on log points and on points difference. But, of course, Helderberg have scored a few more tries than UCT at the moment. And, of course, that's the competition rules, is that after looking at log points, you look at points difference, and after points difference, you look at tries, and that determines the log sequence. Right, folks, this is what it's all about now, is taking a look at the action coming up this weekend. And this time around, we've given you the logs, in at least the fixtures, in a slightly different format. We'll start off with Super League A. And if you look on your left-hand side, you'll see the log positions. So here we see Unimil up against Durban. This means that Unimil, currently in position 3, are playing against Durban in position 4. So now we know it's 3 against 4. St. George's take on Hamilton's. That's 11 against 7. Hamlets travel to Villages. That's 6 against 15. And, of course, that's going to be a big match between Helderberg and False Bay, where, of course, Helderberg are currently sitting at number 1 on the log. False Bay are sitting at number 8 on the log. False Bay, the 2022 league champions, this Saturday face up against Helderberg, who are currently number 1 on the log. So that's a 1-5 matchup for you. Let's take a look now at the logs in Super League, at least the fixtures in Super League B. And there we'll see it's a 5 against 11 as Belleville takes on Belhar. Young People's take on Franschhoek. All Saints and Collegians, 3 against 8. Lunga take on Vineyards, Kylemore and Hands on Hearts, and then Primrose against SK Warmers. So Primrose is sitting at number 10 on the log at the moment. SK Warmers, they are unbeaten in Super League B. So that's going to be a big derby match. Both of these teams, former Super League A teams. So Primrose up against SK Warmers, 10 against 1. And then in Super League C, we see Rangers up against Goodwood. We see Albions up against Van der Stel, Macassar and Peniel Villages. And then Eerste Rivier and Kraaifontein, Masiphumelele and Blue Stars. And Morning Stars take on Blue Jets. I think one of the big matches to look out there for, folks, is the 4-5 matchup with the two teams that are very equal. And we will take a look at your barometer in a second, but look out for that match between Macassar and Peniel Villages. And then in the City League, we see a big match between Manenberg Rangers and Elsies Rivier. This is a 3-1 matchup, probably your closest match on the weekend between Manenberg Rangers and Elsies. Western Zebras take on Violets, Callies take on Young Ideas, and Silvertree take on Gardens. We're going to take a look at your barometers in a minute, so don't go away, because this is where it gets really interesting, is when we start taking a look at some of the statistics. And our barometer is what we've put in for fun, where we do some calculations and we give you some odds on who might or might not win a game. So that's going to be coming up, and one of the games that we are going to look at is the Manenberg Rangers game against Elsie's-Rivier. Of course, Manenberg Rangers this weekend have got home ground advantage. In the Southern League, we see Rocklands up against Laguna, Retreat against Young Stars. It's a 1 and 2 between Atlantis and Titans, and then 6 and 5 between Peninsula and Young Wesleys. So folks, there you see another, in terms of your fixture, another top of the pile clash, because in the Southern Week this weekend, as we say, it's a 1 and 2 clash as Atlantis takes on Titans. So big matches. In the Northern League, we see Windmill United up against Gordons Bay Pioneers. Strand United take on Blake, Solarians and Excelsior, and Stelcourt take on a Wraithby. While in the women's leagues, we see it's a 6 and 3 between Busy Bees Ladies and a 2 and 1 between Brackenfell Ladies and Blue Jets. So we already know that we've got some really big games, some very close matchups there. And of course, in the Paarl region is going to be a big one. This Paarl region weekend, where we see Violets up against Allendale, Paarl Rangers and Simondium, Peril United take on Lower Paarl. But the one that I was talking about, the big game that I was talking about, folks, was in fact the match between Young Standards and Young Gardens. Young Gardens is sitting at number 1 on the log. Young Standards is sitting at number 2 on the log. So it's a 1 and 2 clash at the top of the pile in the Paarl region. So we've got some really big games for you this weekend. It is very exciting. So we said to you earlier on that we would take a look at some of the matchups this weekend. So in terms of fixtures, we know that this weekend it's going to be St. George's up against Hamilton's. This is your Infinetics match barometer. Better Solutions, Better Business from Infinetics. St. George's are sitting at number 11 on the log. Hamilton's are sitting at number 7 on the log. Or at least, sorry, let me just go back, folks. Let me just go back 1 second. So our barometer, if you look at the top left-hand sides, tells you the log position, and then, of course, the log points. As I was saying, Hamilton's are currently at number 7 on the log. St. George's at number 11 on the log, on log points. So what does the barometer tell us? The barometer tells us that, on average, St. George's are scoring more points when they play away from home than Hamilton's is when Hamilton's is playing, at least, let me rephrase that. What the barometer is telling us is that St. George's is scoring more points when they play at home than Hamilton's is when they are playing away. So the matchups for the Hamilton-St. George's game is in favor of St. George's. You wouldn't think so, but the reason that it's in favor of St. George's, and it's a 50-50 odds for St. George's, is because of the home factor. Because on the barometer, we give the home team an extra 10 calculation points. So it's very exciting because, according to the barometer, this is a 50-50 game. All right, so it's a little bit of fun for you to be had. Go to our Facebook page and take a look at how we've done these calculations. And of course, there are a few other factors such as home wins, draws, and so forth that give various points allocation to the clubs. Our next barometer look is, of course, Helderberg against False Bay, and the barometer here says that Helderberg have got a clear advantage with the majority of the log points in their favor. They're scoring more points at home than False Bay is scoring away at the moment, and they currently also, Helderberg has got an 86% win rate versus False Bay's 38% win rate at the moment. So things certainly look like they are in favor of Helderberg, who are currently the log leaders. Right, so folks, we said to you earlier on that we would take a look at the lineup in the City League, where it's going to be a big match this weekend between Manenberg Rangers and Elsie's-Rivier. So Elsie's-Rivier are currently sitting at number 1 in the log. Manenberg Rangers are sitting at number 3 on the log. Now, if you look at some of the statistics here, Manenberg Rangers, they have a 71% win rate. Elsie's, 86% win rate. Currently, when Manenberg Rangers play at home, they score 44 points. When Elsie's-Rivier play at home, away from home, they score 20 points. But there are a few things in favor here. So points 4, we give the attack, and points 4 goes, the attack factor goes in favor of Manenberg Rangers. Whereas the defense factor, in other words, this is points against, goes in favor of Elsie's-Rivier. But as usual, the fan factor goes to the home team. And in this case, the fan factor lies in favor of Manenberg Rangers. So if it wasn't for the fan factor, the odds would have been tipping in favor of LC Shafir. So this looks like it's going to be a 50-50 games. And then, of course, we mentioned to you earlier on that there's a big derby, or if you want to call it a derby, but a big lineup in the Paarl region where Young Standards are going to be up against Young Gardens. Young Gardens are sitting at number 1 on the log. Young Standards sitting number 2 on the log. Your barometer tells us that Young Standards currently has an 86% success rate versus the 89% of Young Gardens. But again, we see the average points is in favor, playing at home is in favor of Young Standards, and Young Gardens are when they play away are scoring 25 points. So folks, what it's telling us there is this week's barometer tells us that partly because of the home fan factor, Young Standards are the slight odd favourites to take this game against Young Gardens. But Young Gardens are sitting at the top of the log, and they do have a higher percentage in their winning ratio. They're winning 89% of their games at the moment. Right, folks, we hope that you have managed to find those barometers interesting and exciting. It's a lot of fun to look at these stats. We'll share them for you on our social media platforms, and of course on our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/Cape Rugby TV. And of course, look out for our Instagram handle as well, which is of course at Cape Rugby TV. When we come back next week, we'll hopefully have some of the folks from Western Province Rugby back on the show. In the meantime, we'll tell all of you out there, have a fantastic rugby weekend. Bye-bye.